Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We encourage them to tell their stories. Today's guest is Ellie Riccio, and today's episode, How One Nurse Dared to Be More Through Education and Entrepreneurship. Attention nurses, looking to take your nursing knowledge and turn it into a viable business? Ready to take action, but don't know where to start? Join the Nurse Shark Academy. We support nurses as business owners and leaders. We offer career and entrepreneurial coaching for nurses or other healthcare professionals. Whether you're a brand new nurse, a seasoned health professional, or building a startup, join a community of support. Entrepreneurship can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be. Our career and business coaching services are designed to help you achieve the life work balance you desire. Our experienced coaches will help you identify and attain your career and business goals, enabling you to become more successful in both your personal and professional life. I'm Tina Baxter. I founded the Nurse Shark Academy because I believe every nurse is a hero on his or her own epic journey. Nurses are launching new businesses every day. You don't have to do it alone. Join the Nurse Shark Academy and get the support, training, and coaching that you need to launch your successful nurse business. Become a member at the nursesharkacademy.biz. Hello, welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We interview nurse leaders and encourage them to tell their story. My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining the confidence, skills, and freedom to live your life on your own terms. You will dream big and expand your consciousness as an entrepreneur. Join us and support these wonderful nurse entrepreneurs and leaders. Today's guest is Ellie Riccio. Make sure I got that right.
Yeah.
And she is a registered nurse for a very long time and a retired paramedic. She was a flight nurse in emergency medicine. And I want to say welcome to the show, Ellie. And tell us, as we always like to ask the first question, what made you become a nurse?
Oh my gosh, Tina, thank you so much for having me. I am truly honored to be a part of your show, and I look forward to meeting everyone else too, and watching some of the other shows. The reason I became a nurse, this is a story that I wasn't expecting. I wanted to do something completely different with my life, and I was a stay-at-home mom. My son was 1 year old, and he had an accident and went through a second-story window, face first. He didn't go out onto the ground. I stopped him from doing that, but he had multiple lacerations to his face. And it was horrifically scary. We took him to the emergency room and I passed out. Right in the trauma room, I passed out and I didn't know what to do. I literally had no idea. And as I was sitting, they had taken me out, and they finished stitching him up, and he's beautiful. He has no scars or anything today. Now that he's 30 years old, he's 30 years old this year. And that event completely pivoted my entire life. As I sat outside that emergency room in my nightgown, covered in my son's blood, crying, I looked like an absolute train wreck. I said, I've got to do something because I am raising a boy. He's going to be in accidents. Things are going to happen. I need to know what to do. And then after we got that all settled down, I took an EMT class because it was easy. I had no college before that. Like I said, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was only, 20 and 21 years old. I didn't have any career yet at all. I took the EMT class and started working as an EMT. I got divorced, and it became a way that I supported myself and my son. Started watching as an EMT, and then I started watching the paramedics, and I thought, I can do that, and I think I can do it a little bit better. So I took an accelerated 9-month course, became a paramedic, and I did that for a long time. And then I was watching the nurses, and I loved how they were doing, and I wanted to see what happened afterwards. And so I went to nursing school. And as I went to nursing school and I watched that, I just kind of kept thinking, I need to help more. I want to help more. I can do more. So I went on for my undergraduate. Once I finished that, then somebody dared me to apply for the flight academy. I didn't really want to do it, but somebody dared me to do it just because. And I thought, I'll throw my hat in the ring. And sure enough, I was one of the applicants, took the flight academy, and was a flight nurse as well. And working full time as a flight nurse and a paramedic at the same time, and then still working in the ER, I decided I was going to go back to a nurse practitioner because I felt like I wanted to be more. I wanted to help more. And so I went on to graduate school. I've always just kind of climbed that ladder one thing at a time. And my son said to me, for 20 years, you've been evolving in your education. And I remember going up that ladder and learning from my peers, learning from the people I worked with, learning from patients, the whole way. And so now I've been a nurse practitioner for 9 years, and I'm currently in school again because I want to work on this psychiatric and mental health nurse practitioner and finish up the DMP. And I decided I wanted to do that. As I'm out here, I'm seeing more and more that mental health is just becoming so forefront, and there's just not enough help in the workforce. So many people are hurting and so many people are struggling. And I just feel like that's where I need to be right now. And so that's my journey of how I started. And it wasn't a choice. It was a pivoted life moment that has completely been so rewarding. And 28 years so far of just absolute incredible stories and lives that I've helped, but more so they've helped me.
So are you currently like a family nurse practitioner? Is that what you're doing currently?
Yes, I am board certified in family medicine. My subspecialty is addiction medicine. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so now you're adding the PHMNP to your.
Yes.
Yes. See, yeah, I thought about it, but I started out as a psych nurse, so I've been in psych forever.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to go back and get my NP as a psych nurse, and I fell in love with gerontology.
Good.
So I like older adults. I'm like, I love kids, but I don't want to treat them.
I understand.
But I really love working with older adults,
Mm-hmm.
and because of my psych background, my subspecialty is geropsychiatry.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Because there aren't enough people that know how to deal with older adults when it comes to medication management and psychiatry and some of the issues that older adults face as they get older in life. So I appreciate that because we do need more people in this area, in this field. And yeah, it'll be great. And you can treat the kiddos if you want.
I did hospice and palliative medicine for quite some time as an NP. And I can tell you that it's beautiful to watch that chapter of life. It's truly beautiful. And I love the stories. I love to hear, and I love to truly talk to our elders because they have such a wealth of information. And you're right. It's just such a very intricate specialty when it comes to the geriatrics, and because their bodies don't work the way they used to, and their medications don't work as they should, because we all know that no one drinks enough water.
Right.
They just don't. And it's a big deal. And so they are just such a beautiful population. They're very vulnerable and they need help so much, so much. I see it every single day.
And then add on there that you've got all these other medications, all these other ailments. Mm-hmm. And so now that I'm doing a lot of geropsychiatry, I think I'm becoming more of a help to the general psychiatrist, because I'm like, I will go through each of those meds and say, okay, this is what you should be taking here. This is why you're taking that. I had to do that with one patient. She came to me with 3 pages worth of meds and said, you're giving me too many meds. I said, I just met you. I haven't given you anything yet, but let me find out what you're taking and why. And I saw a lot of duplicates. She had no idea why she was taking this, who prescribed it initially. So I requested all of her medical records from all of her many specialists. And I went through the medical records and I came up with a chart and I said, okay, this doctor gave you this. So you need to go back to them and ask them, should you still be taking it? Because you're also taking this. Right. And I broke it down for her and her sister. And she came out for me taking 2 medications. That was it. I said, we need to
Wow.
work on all the other stuff that you have. I had another person, she wasn't elderly, but I'll just to throw this in here about medications. She was a nurse actually, who had like 2 or 3 different types of cancers, and she was on like 50 different medications
Oh,
and was coming to see me for depression. And I looked at that med list and I said, I appreciate you coming in. I don't know where to start because you're on so many medications. I need to go and talk it over with the psychiatrist to see if he has any, you know, idea of where we need to start with this, because it was just so many meds, all these neurological meds and pain meds and, you know, all this stuff that she was on, and then all these different cancer meds, and then she had all these chronic conditions, and I'm just like, you really want more medication? I,
that's so
and she
hard.
worked full time. She was still working full time.
Oh my word. That's so hard. It's just so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I say that to say what we do is important.
Hmm.
Even if you are working with kids or working with older adults, kids are another population. You need specialty care for that because their body doesn't process things like they always do. The doses can't be as high, and they have more reactions to things. And I totally get all of that, and so I appreciate you, and I'm glad your son is doing well now. Oh,
He's a wildly successful entrepreneur at age 30. And the beautiful thing is that he's watched me his entire life always strive to be a little bit better, to help people, to be kind, and to just truly work really hard at what you want, set a goal and go after it. And that kind of thinking has, and not just saying it, but showing him, we would sit down and do homework together while he was in school, and so
mhm.
just being present and showing that you do it too. It's not just do as I say, not as I do. No, we're going to do it together. And I think that's been, pivotal for him as well.
I was gonna say, hey, chicks dig scars, man. Chicks dig scars, right?
Absolutely.
And so I'm curious though, because you said you took the flight nurse course. Are you still working in that area or as an NP?
No, no. So what I did, excuse me, what I did was after I had gone through some life challenging things and I had went through a divorce. And once I was done with that divorce, I kind of exited and retired from the emergency medicine world. I had been in it for 20 years, and the life expectancy of a paramedic is 7 years in that career. I lasted 20, and I had put boots to pavement for quite some time. And I kind of passed down the torch. I taught for a couple different colleges and emergency, paramedic classes, EMT classes, first responder, that kind of thing. Um, but I thought, you know what, it's time to hang up my hat, pass that torch, and get into something that's going to give me a little bit more peace. Because in the world of emergency medicine, your cortisol levels are always way too high. You're always living in a fight or flight. And my body was just not doing well. It just wasn't. And I needed to make some physical changes for myself and for my own mental health, and start, kind of taking and unraveling some of the things that I had experienced in all those 20 years of emergency medicine. You see the worst of humanity, but you also see the best too. So I kind of hung up that hat and put those boots in the closet and packed it away. And then I went on to hospice and palliative. And now I work in this area. I still work in the same area, but I do house calls and house visits for insurance companies. I kind of am subcontracted now.
Okay, okay, all right. And so I have worked in hospice and palliative care too, and I have to say I really love that population. And you have to be special to work
Mhm.
in this population because they're like, well, your patients don't typically get better; they transition,
Oh,
and but I think about how we can help them make a peaceful transition, help them move to where they need to, and help the family. So I've always loved being in that population, and I have some of the best conversations with patients when they're at that place, and to help them come to a place of acceptance because it's something we can't fight, right? we don't have the technology yet to fight it.
Yeah.
So we have to learn how to move through it.
Hmm.
And so you're working on getting your uh, DMP,
Hmm.
and then you also have you have your own business. Tell me a little bit about how did you get to be an entrepreneur?
So I've always loved to truly educate. I love to help people. I love to help people understand. Those of us that have more education and different degrees, as we hold on to that information, if we don't find a way to transfer to someone else, the education dies. And so a lot of times I have found that people just don't know how to take care of themselves. We assume that they do, but in reality, they don't. And so, as I was making my way in my own journey of taking better care of myself, going to doctor's appointments for myself, and focusing on movement and better sleep cycles and all that kind of stuff. And I was sharing that on social media. I found that people were starting to ask questions. And then I was like, they just don't know. And it wasn't that they were just being flippant. They truly didn't understand. They didn't know. And so I found myself in a way creating a private group that I could put people into and just share education with. We talk about things of basic hydration. What are electrolytes? What is a sleep cycle? What is sleep hygiene? People just don't know. And so, as I was going through my own physical things, I was taking people along with me and then helping them and encouraging them along the way, showing them the difference between low carb, carb cycling, keto. Like as I was learning, I was sharing that. And then I started making meal plans and making your recipes and things like that. And so I was sharing it in my group and I thought, well, I could just put these all as downloads and just either give them away or I took my time, so maybe a couple of dollars, and maybe somebody can have, this benefit of not having to try to figure it out. And so I got myself a Shopify store and just started putting stuff in there that I was already making, and it just created a little bit of extra, revenue for me. And I love to do it. I was doing it anyway, so why not, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. This is what I would like to tell our listeners. Taking what you have this knowledge, you've done the education, you've worked in the field, you understand healthcare, you're learning about your own health, and then you're providing a valuable service to the community, but it also helps provide for your family. That's what being an entrepreneur is.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that nurses can take what they have their nursing degree, they understand nursing, they understand healthcare, and use it in a different way. My
Mhm.
philosophy has always been you can leave your job, you don't have to leave your profession. You can
Amen.
learn how to do nursing in a different way.
That
So,
is so true. Tina, that is so true because, and not only that, I have found that because I have so many people that follow me that really buy into what we're doing, they help hold me accountable on the days that I don't want to do it. Let's just face it, I'm still a human. There's days that I don't want to go for the walk. I don't want to eat well. I want to go and, eat whatever. And I want to just stay in bed some days too, because depression really is something that hovers over and I'm aware of it, but I have to manage it. And as I am vulnerable and I'm sharing these great days and then days that aren't really great, what I'm doing to help myself kind of stay out of that dark place. I'm taking people with me, but I'm also they're holding me accountable because I know I have to show up for them. So
mhm.
it's a beautiful way to help them to generate extra income because we all could use a little bit of extra, in our bank account. And also, it helps give me a community that is a safe place that if I want to go live and I just want to sit and cry and say, I'm having a really crappy day, I have the people that will support me. And these people are from all over the world. And that's just a beautiful thing is social media is to be social.
Yes, I think we've forgotten that part of social media. So many times I see people just throwing, you know, rocks at each other on social media, and I'm like, no, this is a place to be encouraging. I happen to be in a diabetics Facebook group,
Okay.
and in this Facebook group, I'm the frequently the nurse on call, And so they will post questions specifically to the nurses that are there each week. And I just do the education, right? I'm not prescribing and not telling them, stop medicine. I'm not doing any of those things, but I'm helping to educate them on why they're experiencing what they're experiencing with their diabetes. And it is a safe place for you to ask those questions. And I see them post pictures of, okay, this is what I had on my meal. This is on my plate. My blood sugar went up to this. What am I doing wrong? And they help each other. And I love that about that group.
It is so good. And I love to get different gadgets. I love to get different supplements. I will be the guinea pig and I will try different things and I will use different things. I purchased a Dexcom 6 and I wore it for 6 months just because I wanted to see how different foods reacted to our bodies. And I learned so many wonderful things and I took them with me. And so now, like, I got a message today that one of my girls, she's been with me for about 2 years now. Her A1C is down to 4.2 and she's coming off of her metformin. And so when I get those messages, like, I just sit there and just am so full of gratitude. And because she trusts me and we've been doing things, tweaking this, tweaking that. And so for her, I said, eat your protein first, wait 15 minutes, and then have your healthy carbs. And she's noticed that her blood sugars do a nice gentle roll instead of having big spikes. Those big spikes is what really makes a big difference in that insulin resistance. And when they go to the doctors, they hear the words, but nobody explains what that means.
Yes.
And so by me using social media as a way to educate and help them understand the terms that medicine uses all the time, and because medicine just uses it as a jargon, we just automatically think that everyone understands what we're saying, and they don't.
I can definitely tell you from being in this group, it's really eye opening because as I'm typing, because it's typed, it's not live, it's so we type and I'm typing it and I want to put in abbreviations and I have to stop myself. No, type it out so they know what you're saying. Provide the reference. So if I have a reference, I will actually put the link there so that they can go back and look at it, where I've got the information from. And so I try to work really hard on making sure I make it accessible for anyone. And because it's an international group, sometimes English is their second language. And so I want to make sure that what I say makes sense. So yeah, I really applaud you for that. And with what you're doing with your Facebook group, that is just awesome. And so your group is the Healthy on the Go Facebook group?
Yep, it is. And it's got 5,000 people in there. And it's growing all the time. And we have so much fun. I do monthly challenges in there. It is a free challenge to participate. And with this hot weather, I had a whole series about how to manage your health during these really, really high temperatures, because we just say drink water, but people don't understand that hydration is truly, truly the foundation of everything. And unless you tell them why, they just go, oh, they just say drink water again. But it's more than that, so I will do like 14-day challenge or a 21-day challenge. And each day is a new topic. What is a macro? What are micros? How to incorporate extra steps. Why do we need the water? All kinds of things. I don't get heavy into medicine. I really keep on the outskirts of it so we can look at health in a holistic way and take a look at what's the difference between body measurements and body weight. Why do we have to have a waist circumference? Because that's what puts the workload on the cardiac system. And so we need to focus on muscle building and strength training because, we talk about menopause, why, our cortisol levels are crazy, estrogen's up, progesterone's crazy. How do we balance that so we can stay healthy and keep our bones healthy? Me, I'm 50. I want to make sure that I am flexible, and I'm talking about longevity and keeping my bones good and strong, because we always hear, did you hear grandma fell down and broke her hip? I'm like, no, grandma's hip broke and then she fell down. So we need to talk about osteoporosis, right?
Yes,
So
definitely.
it's a lot of education, and it's a free group. And I do prizes, I do giveaways, I do all kinds of fun stuff in there. And it's just a community. People always share inspirational posts. They share about their day. They share their sweaty selfies if they got their movement in. And it's just a beautiful place. I love it. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. That sounds great. And so, now that you've got your business up, now can I ask you,
Yeah.
what were some of the challenges you had when you started your business?
One of the challenge was that I didn't have any idea how to start a Shopify store. I didn't know anything about taxes. I didn't know anything about, when it comes to filing taxes, like what did you need to do? How do you do that? I, I learned from absolute zero. I found a CPA that when I told, I'm contracted, I'm a 1099 with my contracting company I'm a employee of my own company, and by
Hmm.
doing that, he created an S corp, and by doing that, then I take taxes. It goes through payroll, takes taxes out, and then I get paid, and which keeps me away from the IRS, right? We have to
Right.
be mindful of those things. But I didn't know anything about this. So my first year, I was getting getting revenue, and I took it to my tax guy, and he went, "Oh, you're gonna have to pay." And I go, "Wait, what?" I
Hmm.
didn't know. So I think that when you're starting in entrepreneurship, it's really important to have a conversation with a reputable CPA that is somebody you're familiar with. Have the conversation about, do you need an LLC? Is that okay? Or do you need to be an S corp, because there's benefits to both? I don't fully understand them. That's why I have a CPA. That is their expertise. And just know, the thing about all of us nurses is we don't have to know everything. We just have to know where our resources are, that we can do what we need to do. Just like when we're working, we don't need to know all of it. We just know where to find it. Who knows where that is? And we've all done that, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's important because I was just on in a Facebook group, and one of the people on the Facebook group was talking about she had to shut her business down because she had a tax bill, and she didn't know how to set up her business. And then
Mhm.
she said, I really don't think I'm cut out to be an entrepreneur. And part of me wanted to reach out and say, hey, what kind of business are you in?
Yeah.
Can I help you out? But this person was also asking for employment. So they're having a lot of financial difficulty.
Mhm.
And I thought, there's other people in the group that are willing to help them out. This is not the appropriate thing for me to say, hey, buy my course or get become a member. I didn't do any of that. But I was thinking, I said, this is why I want to have this, because you're
Mhm.
right. Nurses, we're trained in nursing. We're not necessarily trained in business.
Mhm.
And I remember as a nurse practitioner, we had a setting up your practice lecture. It was like a couple of days, a lecture and a little bit of book you read. And they didn't really explain things very well. They didn't explain ICD, at that time, 9 codes. They didn't explain the billing very well. You kind of had to learn that on the job.
Mhm.
And I think that for some people as nurses, that's an expensive way to start a business, by learning on the job.
You're right. It is.
Mhm.
It's scary. It's scary because we hear people go to prison for tax evasion, and it happens sometimes just by pure ignorance. And it's not, you're
Mhm.
not purposefully trying to evade, paying the taxes. You just don't know because you've never owned a business. Most of us in nursing have always, traded time for money, and that's what we
Right.
did. And
Yes.
so now, as somebody makes a purchase, I have it go right through taxes, and it already comes right out. But my first year, I didn't know any of that. I learned, and I had to pay a lot of taxes back. And so now, as anybody that's getting into entrepreneurship, I would say that your first 6 months, see how things go, and really reach out to some financial support with a CPA. And a lot of them will do consults with you to see, number one, what are you thinking, and where are you right now? Because you can start with an LLC, and as you grow, that might be the time to switch over to an S corp, and the CPA will file everything with your state, with federation, with the federal government. You don't have to do that. You pay them to do it. But you don't have to start out all the way over at an S corp. Like, you can start with an LLC and grow into it too. So it's not so scary.
And that's why I explain to people that you need to find your tribe, your people around you to help support you, your CPA, an attorney, please. Please
Yes.
get an attorney. If you don't have one, I have a great way for you to get one that'll help you in your business at a low cost, a
Mhm.
membership based cost program. But I just think it's so important for instance, intellectual property. I met with a business owner, and she was really promoting these journals that she was trying to sell in her group. The problem was the group was called the Wonder Woman group of whatever.
Okay.
And she had a picture of a Wonder Woman type figure on her journal. And I said,
No.
you can't use that.
Oh.
DC will come after you.
Mhm.
That is trademarked. And it never occurred to her that
Mhm.
she couldn't do that. I said, if you change it to maybe Superwoman, you might get away with that because it's Wonder Woman, not Superwoman, and it's Supergirl. So you might be able to trademark that. I said, but you need to be very careful with that. And it never dawned on her. And she was ready to trademark this whole thing. And I said, you're going to pay a whole bunch of money
Mhm.
to find out that you can't trademark.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary. It's
Hmm.
absolutely scary. And then I think another thing that I would definitely say was a challenge for me is that because we are nurses and nurse practitioners, when we give advice, even though we're not giving medical advice, we always have to say, I am a provider, but I'm not your provider. Please speak to your own primary care provider.
Yes.
How I always have that disclaimer all over the place in my group because what can be misunderstood will be misunderstood.
Hmm.
And it's never intended to be, but if it is and it doesn't go well, you could find yourself in a pickle real quick. And so I have disclaimers all over everything just because you just never know. And we always want to protect ourselves, protect our education, and protect our families from something bad happening.
The nurse that was in California, the nurse
Hmm.
practitioner who got her DNP, the physician she's worked with referred to her as Dr. So and so. So she put out on her website, I'm Dr. Angie or whatever her name was, right?
Yeah.
And of course, someone saw it and said she's pretending to be a medical doctor. They turned her in. The state came and fined her lots of money, went and fined her collaborating provider as well. And this whole thing, and she had to go before the state board of nursing. It was a huge, huge thing, all because she said, hey, ask Dr. Whoever. And of course, the physicians are like, nope, she's pretending to be a medical doctor. It does not clearly say that she's a nurse practitioner. And so even when I walk into the room, I always say, hey, I'm Tina Baxter. I'm the nurse practitioner.
Yep.
So
Yep.
they'll know.
Yeah.
Don't yeah, because I don't want anybody saying, oh, you're pretending to be, and I don't have a doctorate right now. So I don't want anybody to say I'm pretending to be a doctor. I don't. I love doctors, but I chose nursing over medicine for a reason.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a doctor. If I did, I would have continued on and went on to medical school. I mean, I was really close. All I had to do was put the application in. I took the MCAT twice. That's how close I was.
Ah,
I just couldn't do it. I'm just like, mm-mm.
yeah.
I wanted a life. I didn't like the life they lived.
Hmm.
Always on call,
Hmm.
never got to do anything with your family. Always, I didn't like that idea. So I became a nurse. Then I became a nurse manager, and I was always on call. Never got to do anything with my family. Then I became a nurse practitioner. I was on call all the time, even on vacation. They would call me because they couldn't get a hold of the doctor. It was crazy, and I said, "Wait a minute." I thought I went into nursing, so I didn't have to do that. So
Hmm.
that's why I flipped and changed, and took another job where there's no on call. The
Yeah.
minute they say we're going to do on call, it's like, all right, you better pay me a whole lot of money then.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've done the on-call thing in the past and it just doesn't, I didn't like it. I mean, all those years of running emergency medicine, the sleep's up, the tones go off, you're out the door, you're in the air, whatever. I didn't want that anymore in my life because when the phone rings, it's still the same feeling.
Yeah, I
And
did that for about 17 years of being on call in one form or another.
Mm-mm. It doesn't, and your body doesn't like it. That phone goes off, your cortisol levels go so high, then you start ending up in adrenal fatigue. And at the end of the day, you start to kind of get yourself into a bad circadian rhythm. Your body doesn't like it. Hormones don't like it. We're not designed to be like that. And it's just not a good idea. And I had an ER physician. I had questioned his orders and I refused to give them. And he said, but last I checked, I was the doctor. And I said, you're right, you are. And as I checked, I chose not to go to medical school. So if you want to do that, you can go right in that room and you can give that medicine and you can sign off on it, because I'm not doing it. Because even though I am a nurse, that doesn't mean I'm subservient. That means
Mm-hmm.
I'm an advocate for my patient, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So you are welcome to order that. You're welcome to give it, and I will take my hands off of the chart going forward. It's up to you. And so, those of us that have been in medicine a long, long time, we have learned to be that fierce advocate for people who can't speak for themselves. And I love that we all do that. We are empathetic and we are compassionate and kind, but we also have this part in us that is fierce when it comes to standing up for somebody who is vulnerable. And I love that we do that, and we do it so well.
Well, we either have to stand up for each other or stand up for ourselves too, because I work as a legal nurse consultant. And so when
Okay.
you give that medication and you had your reserves, I hate to tell you, but they come looking at the nurse first.
Always,
You
always.
gave that medicine. You're supposed to stop that medicine from being given. You should have
Yeah,
known better. I mean, and unfortunately, um, a lot of nurses get intimidated
sure.
um, by physicians, by management. And I
Mhm.
always tell them, I said, you know what? You can get another job.
Yes. Yes.
You need to protect your license.
That's
Your
right.
license is your business, whether you're working at the bedside or in your own business. Your license is your business. And if you lose that, you're out of business.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And you're right. We do have to stand up for each other. And a lot of times we are pressured in the facilities, because whether it's the heat of the moment, whether there's a crisis going on, or if it's, internal intimidation, you're 100% right. And sometimes those of us with that inner strength and we have to stand up and put that foot down, it is uncomfortable at the beginning. But when you know that you're right, it's okay.
And there's a way to say it respectfully and say, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Mhm.
You want to go ahead and do that, you
Yeah.
handle that perfectly. Hey, I just don't feel comfortable with this. um I'm not going to give it. And I've have stopped students when I teach. I stop students and said, do you know what you're giving? Do you know what this medicine does?
Yeah.
You know what it is? No. I said, so why would you give a medicine and you don't even know what it is or what it does?
Right. It's a very much about mother, hey, well, he said to or she said to do it. And that's
Hmm.
not, you are the final, before it goes into a human body, you are the final check and balance. And I have had my fair share of depositions throughout the years, and those are no fun. All you need is one deposition and it will change your life.
Yes, ma'am. I've had many. I have many as an expert, and it's like, I tell the nurses, I said, you need to document, 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 particularly in the long term care. I always tell them, I understand document by exception, but guess what? I guarantee you, if you were to come back 10 years later to try to explain this, you will not remember what happened. But had you documented it, you would save yourself. You can't say that it would actually happen because nothing's documented.
Right.
And that really makes you look like you're not credible. As an NP rounding in nursing homes, I would often tell the nurses, if it's important enough to put on the book for me to see as a problem, it should be important enough for you to document in the medical record. So
That's
when I
right.
see that you said that this is a problem and I go to the medical record and it does not match it, I'm going to come to you
Hmm.
and say, who assessed this person for this? Great example. They put on there, resident has a brown spot on their ear. We don't know where it came from. We don't know what it is. Come look at it. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay. So I go down there and I'm looking at this brown spot and I'm like, wait, is this the spot they're talking about? She's like, yes. I walked over there, got a washcloth, wetted it, wiped her ear. It was dry chocolate milk.
Oh my.
And I said to the nurse, now I have to, because I did assess her, I have to bill this person
Mhm.
for dry chocolate milk.
That's crazy.
So I'm going to say, when was the last time you gave this resident a shower?
Mm,
I'm going to say, how come no one washed her face after her meal?
right.
I
Right.
said, if a surveyor was in the room with us, you would have been cited.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And now I have to bill Medicare because I did do an evaluation and assessment for dried chocolate milk.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Document everything, man. I tell you, I always say that if it's not on paper, it didn't happen.
Hmm.
Whatever you write down needs to be what you can recall, even if it's details. I would always chart details for myself. It wasn't
Yes.
for anybody else. It was for me because if I did have to go to a deposition, I could read that and I knew exactly what room it was, what person it was, because there was details in it. And always chart as if an attorney is going to rip it to shreds.
And please make your assessment
Yeah.
and document the assessment. That's the problem. They'll document what the resident said, they'll document what the family said, they'll document what they did, but they won't document the actual assessment that
Mhm.
says, this is why I'm doing what I am doing. So later on, if something happened, they can go back and say, well, you didn't follow standard of care because you never assessed for this or this or this or this.
Right.
Document the assessment. That's
Yeah.
that's what hangs people up. That's your freebie to those of you who are listening. Legal nurse consultant
Yeah,
and a couple of
sure.
couple of MPs. Yeah.
And that disclaimer really does cover a lot. And if it
Hmm.
is a private conversation, I will always say I'm happy to help within my limits. But just remember, I am not telling you to stop any medicines, to take any medicines, or to change anything. Any questions, please speak to your direct primary care provider. So that way I have that documented,
Yes,
again.
it's even documented in the Facebook comments, and I say, well, this is what it
Yeah.
sounds like. It could be this, it could be that. I'll make an appointment with your GP.
There you go.
Right
Absolutely
there.
every
I
time.
like, yeah.
Every time.
And other people chime in and say, well, when I had it, I had heart failure. I said, well, it could be heart failure. So I was talking about swelling. I said, but it also could be gout. They're diabetic. So I said, it could also be this. I said, I don't know what other medications you're taking that may cause edema or swelling. I said, but I would say make an appointment and talk to your GP and ask them, why do you have this swelling?
Yeah, there's so many differentials, and social media can be the villain in this
Hmm.
arena because everyone has an opinion and everyone has a story, but they don't understand that every human is different biologically, and every situation is different, different environments, different eating, different medicines, different hydrations, and so that all contributes to overall health. And
Hmm.
you can't just take two symptoms without having the whole picture and say, oh, this is what it is, and they expect us to do that. And
Yes.
so I will help with basic things, but I always put that disclaimer because that you're right, we have to
Mhm.
protect ourselves for sure.
Well, they'll Google things, right?
Yeah.
And I get this from my family all the time. So I have this going on, and I Googled it, and I think I have this, and my niece is very good about this. And I said, well, it could be that, but it could also be other things. So make an appointment with your doctor and tell them your concerns. So
Yeah.
I get that from family members all the time. And I'm like, Google can be your friend, but it can also be your nemesis. I'm sorry, sometimes looking things up because you don't have the right context
Well, that's
for it.
just it too. Yes, Google and WebMD, as wonderful as they are for basic resources, can
Yes.
be a hindrance. And they can diagnose you with the worst case scenario, and it could be just something very minor.
Yeah. Yeah. Could
Mhm.
be. And we just I said, instead of making it a catastrophe, because again, I work in psychiatry. So instead of making it a catastrophe, thinking the worst possible outcome, right? Knowing that even if it is that, there's, sitting here worrying about it isn't going to change it, right? So maybe go see them, get the workup, find out what it is. And if it's something you can manage, great. If it's something that's going to be more difficult to manage, okay, at least we now know what we're dealing with. But it's the not knowing that's going to kill you.
Yep.
And I had that happen to a patient who just didn't go, refused to be seen, and he ended up dying from something that was very treatable because he just
Oh,
wouldn't go. Again, I deal with people with mental health issues, so there
mhm.
was some play in that. But he just decided, well, if it was the big C, he didn't want to know.
Oh,
And it wasn't. On autopsy, they found out it wasn't.
oh my goodness. That's sad.
Yeah. But, he made that choice. He's
Hmm.
like, nope, I don't want to go. And I had to support that, right? That's his right to refuse treatment. In that case, this wasn't because of his mental illness exactly. This was a life choice that he made. It was also during the pandemic, and so he didn't want to go in the hospital. He was terrified of the hospital. Um, and he was afraid if he went in, he wouldn't come back out.
Oh,
So he he went at home. Okay.
oh.
So
And that's okay. That's
that's
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say. That's okay. People have, as long as they're in their right mind, meaning that they're able to make rational decisions. And yes, he had a mental illness, but he was able to make rational decisions. It wasn't like he was completely psychotic and didn't know where he was and all of those things. The same thing with someone who's older. If they don't have dementia, they know where they are. They can make a rational decision. And sometimes even when they have dementia, they maybe have time where they are rational and can make some decisions on their own. And so I
Right.
support that. So they say, I want to be a full code. All right, we will code you. If
Yes.
that's what your beliefs are, I will do that. You say you don't want to be a full code, I will support that as well.
Yep.
Um, Whatever you decide. I had a cancer patient who decided he did not want any more chemotherapy. It wasn't going to be curative, it was just going to be palliative.
Hmm.
And he was tired of going. And I told him, I said, your wife, who is trying to get the POA, but you're still of sound mind, I said, you need to tell us what you want because otherwise you're going to keep going for these treatments.
Hmm.
And you have to tell me what you want. And he finally opened up his eyes because he only closed his eyes when his wife was around. That's a whole other thing. And and so he said, I don't want to do this anymore. I said, no problem. We had witnesses, signed off on it. Wife was mad about it, but I said that was his decision.
Yeah.
Of course, 2 weeks later, he passed away. But he knew it wasn't going to be curative. I
Sure.
said, we can make you as comfortable as possible. I said, we'll try not to let you be in pain as much as we can. I
Right.
said, we're going to give you the time to be with your child as much as you can. But he was ready. He was done. He just knew it. I'm like, for him, the quality of life would have been poor because he was getting these toxic drugs that
Yeah.
were making him sick,
Hmm.
and it wasn't going to help him. He was still probably going to go. It was very progressive, fast acting cancer. And it's like, I don't think it's really going to prolong your life,
So
So
hard. That's so hard to
yeah,
watch.
it is.
Hmm.
But I think letting him advocate for himself and encouraging that is
Hmm.
important. And that's all part of being a nurse.
Yeah.
Is helping our patients advocate for themselves.
I agree with that because they can lean on our strength to advocate for them. We can also give them opportunities to see things different perspectives,
Hmm.
helping them have holidays just because it's not that calendar year doesn't mean you can't have Christmas in August,
That's
right?
right.
And
Hmm.
so helping them see, take the videos, take the pictures, have the conversations, write down the most incredible stories, take that time to create those memories and things for your family so that you have them going forward and they will be priceless because none of us are getting out of this life alive. But what we can do is take the time to help people see perspectives, and quality of life versus quantity is really essential for them.
Hmm.
And those of us that are strong and really can help the family see it from a different perspective creates a space where that person going through it now has more comfort without guilt, because that the family can sometimes inadvertently guilt their family member into, well, you should stay, and then they're fighting to stay, and that's not healthy either, right? And so, us being nurses and empathy and compassion and caring for people doesn't always just mean caring for the human body and the disease. It also means caring for the person as a whole.
Definitely. Holistic care is
Yeah.
so very important. And I think we kind of missed some of that
Mhm.
in modern medicine. We're so focused on the disease. I kind of think of it sometimes as mechanics, right? We just
Yes.
want to fix that problem and move on to the next thing. But I've always wanted to find out, how did you get there in the first place, which is why I'm in psychiatry. How did you get there in the first place? And how do we keep you from going back to that place?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's so important. Well, this has been a really great conversation. I do want to remind our listeners that she does have her free guides available on her website on elliericcio.com. And you can pick that up, and that'll be in our show notes. I want to thank you for your time today. And my last question is,
Yeah.
if you had one piece of advice for a budding entrepreneur, what would it be?
Do it. Just do it. Do it. Don't think about it. Don't overthink it, because you'll learn as you go. The more you overthink, the more time passes and you will not start. And the most beautiful things come just on the other side of fear. And
Mhm.
just, you might be scared and you might be thinking, oh, I don't know, or I don't know. Guess what? Just jump right in, just do it. You're going to learn as you go. Reach out to your peers, they will help you. There's tons of Facebook groups out there that are people like Tina, like myself, that will absolutely give you all the tips that we have learned, but we're still learning too. But just don't wait, because life will go so fast, and before you know it, you'll be in that age of thinking, I should have, I would have, I could have, and then you'll have regret, and nobody wants to do that. So just do it fast, do it fun, fall, fail, do all the things, and just enjoy the ride.
All right, you heard it there. Do it fast, do it fun. Okay, I want to thank you for tuning in to our episode today. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit that notification bell and to subscribe. And also leave us a comment and let us know what you think of the show. And if you have any nurse entrepreneur guests that you think would be great for our show, please reach out to us. You can email us at the Nurse Shark Academy show at baxterprofessionalservices.com. Also, please, if you are listening to us through Podbean or wherever you get your podcast, don't forget to leave us a comment and a like. We'd appreciate that. And those of you that would like the additional content that we have available to you, become a patron and sign up for the show. I want to thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Nurses, are you ready for more? My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining confidence, skills, and the freedom to live your life on your own terms. Assisting you in achieving your goals through tailored advice, continuous learning, and a collaborative approach is at the heart of everything I do. Stop being eaten alive. Come feel the sun. Be a nurse shark. Thank you for listening to the Nurse Shark Academy show wherever you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when all of our episodes come out. If you want further information, you can contact us on the NurseSharkAcademy.biz.